Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Dan Mandis, this is Red Eye Radio.
And the phone number, 866-90-RED-EYE. We've got the text line open this morning as well, 615-737-9986. And Gary and Eric, they return next Sunday night, Monday morning, and I hope you are doing well. And I've got some great audio. I want to play this. I don't even really have anything to connect this to as far as content goes. But I just want to play it because it's a great quote from Tom Homan.
They always say the Trump administration is inhumane. I'm a racist, supposedly. I'm a white nationalist. I read it all. I'm a terrorist. Whatever you want to call me. I don't give a shit what people think about me. Never have.
Nope, that's Tom Homan. And that's why that is what makes Tom Homan so incredibly good. Now, illegal immigration, always in the news. And there is a great story here that I love and I hate. This is the headline, though. Man who allegedly towed away an ICE vehicle during an operation has now been arrested. And now he can laugh behind bars. I mean, I don't know what this dude was thinking. You know, earlier in the broadcast, we've had a really good show today. And if you want to go check the podcast, you can find them anywhere, anytime at redeyeradio.net. But earlier, we were talking about how there are certain, cultures or families or whatever, but we're not teaching kids to respect the law. And so kids will, the classic example would be, I guess, break a window. But, kids will, in the beginning of their criminal career, they will start out, shoplifting. Then they may go into vandalism. Then they may go into, I don't know what, robbery, armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon. And before you know it, in a few years, this kid graduates to murder. And we're not teaching kids to respect the law. I mean, that's happening. So this guy thought it would be a good idea, because clearly he's a Donald Trump hater. Clearly this is a guy who thought that it would be really funny to tow an ICE vehicle. Well, again, now he can laugh in jail. Guy's name is Nunez. The criminal complaint said Nunez live streamed himself laughing during the towing incident. The arrest of an illegal alien influencer has turned into a circus after a tow truck driver towed away a vehicle used by immigration and customs enforcement agents during the operation, but officials got the last laugh. The incident from August 18th unfolded on numerous videos, including the live stream of influencer Lady Tatiana Mafla Martinez. Yep. A 24-year-old illegal alien from Colombia. Critics of the administration say she was targeted because she was using her platform to warn illegal immigrants about the presence of ICE officials. In one recording, the officers run after the vehicle as it is towed away while Mafla Martinez is detained on the ground. On Monday, the acting U.S. Attorney General Bill Essayli, said on social media that the tow truck driver, identified as Bobby Nunez, has now been arrested. I don't know what dude was thinking. I guess my question would be, okay, so was it in like a no parking zone or anything? I mean, did he at least have cause to tow the vehicle? Or did he just decide that this was an ICE vehicle, so he was going to tow it? They say Bobby Nunez is now under arrest for brazenly towing an ICE vehicle. He is charged with theft of government property, says Essayli. The quote here is, apparently he thought that it would be funny to interfere with our immigration enforcement operations. He says now he can laugh behind bars while he faces justice. Nunes is looking at up to 10 years in federal prison if convicted. 10 years. Well, you know what? I mean, if he was literally stealing government property, and it sounds like he was, throw the damn book at him. And that's my 2 cents on that. Throw the book at him. I mean, people in this country, and let's just be honest, people in this country have been getting away with a lot worse for a long time. So I think that people do need to start facing justice. We talk about this all the time on talk radio. That this is the reason why Donald Trump is thinking about going into Chicago. This is why Donald Trump is thinking about going into New Orleans or Memphis, wherever. Because we're not holding people accountable. I mean, not to belabor the point, but, you know, in some of these cities like a Memphis, we were talking about this earlier, where, you know, most of the crime is committed by 600 or so people. And here's the thing. If they know who they are, just start rounding them up, guys. I mean, that's all you got to do. Oh, but people will get upset. Who cares? Asalee included the video of the car being towed as well as a video of the arrest of Nunes. The vehicle had a gun. Actually, the vehicle had a gun safe when it was towed away, according to the criminal complaint. Prosecutors said that Nunes was laughing as he towed the car and was live streaming himself. Investigators were able to track him down through his TikTok. People are so dumb. Like, when you cover the news like I do, the amount of dumbness in all of these people, when you read these stories, you're thinking, did he at any time thought that, I don't know, maybe I might get caught? I mean, obviously not. Now, should this guy face 10 years in prison? Or is that too much? Actually, you know what? I would be interested in what you have to say about this. The super text line, the text line is open, 615-737-9986. Is it too much to, say that this guy should serve 10 years in probably federal prison, right? He's stealing government property. 10 years in federal prison for towing an ICE van. An attorney for Mafla Martinez said that she did not cooperate with the officer's commands because they had refused to present the warrant for her arrest, saying the reason she didn't come out is these are masked men. And then they said that they had a warrant. She just wanted them to display said warrant. Show me the warrant, she said, and they never displayed anything, she says, according to her attorney, Carlos Jurado. A spokesperson for the White House said that she had been arrested over a prior DUI conviction. Her attorney did not deny the conviction, but claimed the real motivation for the arrest was her online activism against ICE. Well, no. I mean, look, if she is on there, online activism against ICE, well, that's one thing. But if she's got an arrest over a prior DUI conviction and they pick her up for that, and they're going to deport her, well, then, you can be deported for that. They say in closing, we believe at this point, based on things that have been said to her, is that because she was out filming ICE activities, she was targeted, Jurado added. You know what I'd say? I would say that if you're doing something like that, you better make sure that you don't have anything that they can use against you. I mean, listen, I get it. I mean, I understand. ICE is like, who is this woman and why is she exposing us? Oh, look, she's got a prior arrest for DUI. There's a reason to pick her up. Can I just tell you this? I actually don't mind fighting fire with fire. Do you know that's what the Democrats have been saying with Donald Trump, right? You know that. We're going to fight fire with fire. Gavin Newsom has been saying that. We're going to fight fire with fire. That's what Gavin Newsom always says. Well, you know what? ICE can play that game too. And so if the other side is going to play dirty, then our side can play dirty too. Because that's part of what's going on. This is the guy towing the ICE truck. This is playing dirty. And he was laughing about it. He thought it was funny. Well, you know what? I'd be willing to bet that the officers that picked this guy up, I bet you they thought that it was funny too, throwing him in the back of the ICE van. You know what would have been really great? What would have been really great is if they picked him up in the ICE van that he towed. That would have been funny. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind fighting fire with fire if the other side is going to play dirty, if the other side is going to do that kind of thing. Well, then we should do everything in our power legally to fight back. Because that's how they learn. And that's how we send a message to the other folks, do not mess with ICE. The text line is 615-737-9986. The phone number, 866-90-RED-EYE. Dan Mandis in for Gary and Eric. They do return next Sunday night, Monday morning, and we'll be back right here on Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Hurricane Lorena, an Eastern Pacific system, is expected to make landfall Friday in the Baja Peninsula of Mexico as a tropical storm. According to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey,
the system will be shredded by the rugged terrain and the desert terrain of northwestern Mexico.
However,
some of that tropical moisture is surging northward in advance of Lorena into the United States, and we could see as much as 1 to 4 inches of rain for the second half of the week in parts of Arizona, and that could lead to some flash flooding and debris flows, especially in areas that have seen burns recently.
Some of the remnant tropical moisture is expected to mix into a cold front crossing the southern plains this week.
We are going to get a rain event, and that could lead to some 1 to 2 inch plus rainfall totals across the southern half of the plains this weekend as remnant moisture from Hurricane Lorena works its way across the south central United States.
With beneficial precipitation possible for crops and pastures in places like the southern half of Texas. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. You know, I'd asked you to chime in on whether or not you thought 10 years was too much time in prison for the guy that towed the ICE vehicle. Man, I got to tell you, you people are harsh. Apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently one guy told me that the blue lights, I guess, were on when it was towed. So clearly this dude was just being mean and nasty. So I didn't find, I received probably about 35 to 40 text messages to 615-737-9986. Not one person, not one of you said, you maybe ought to just give him a couple of years. No, every one of you said 10 years or more. So just really, really interesting. And listen, I get it. I think 10 years is fine. Now, have you seen what is going on with Rosie O'Donnell? Now, earlier this week, we played her apology. She was apologizing to MAGA because she had accused them of, she'd accused a MAGA person of being the Minnesota shooter. And so she had to apologize, and I played that, and I broke it down. It was all just a bunch of nonsense. But now Donald Trump is threatening to revoke her citizenship. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Now, this cut from back in July is going viral yet again. This is Rosie O'Donnell, and she's talking about Chris Cuomo. She's talking to Chris Cuomo about, Donald Trump and her TDS that made her very depressed.
So Rosie O'Donnell, she went on Chris Cuomo's show recently. She blames you for the fact that she's overweight. the press in Trump. What do you say to that? Do you think PDS is going to ever be a DSM-5 citation?
I don't know about Rosie. I watch Rosie. Rosie's a mess. She's a mess. But she left our country, which is a good thing, not a bad thing.
So there you go. That is President Trump. And, you know, you got to love it. Well, now President Trump is giving serious thought to revoking Rosie O'Donnell's United States citizenship. Now, I don't think he can do that. Actually, I'm certain he cannot do that. But this is the story. And if I asked you to chime in, should Donald Trump revoke her citizenship, a lot of you folks would say yes, just based on principle. But here's the thing. She left. I mean, I don't want Donald Trump to revoke or try to revoke her citizenship. I just think it's a bad look. But you know what I don't understand with Rosie O'Donnell? What I don't get about Rosie O'Donnell is that she left. You left America, so why do you keep chiming in? Don't talk about Ireland stuff. Whatever's going on in Ireland. Talk about the difference between North and Southern Ireland. I don't think they get along. Whatever. But talk about that stuff. Because if you leave, then you no longer have skin in the game. You just decided you're going to be mad and you're just going to go away. Okay. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that he was giving serious thought to stripping actress and I don't know if Rosie O'Donnell is a comedian anymore because she's not funny. But anyway, Trump is giving serious thought to stripping actress and comedian Rosie O'Donnell of her U.S. citizenship, a move that he had threatened in the past but cannot legally do. And by the way, this is Fox News. As previously mentioned, we are giving serious thought to taking away Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. She is not a great American and is, in my opinion, incapable of being so, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Now, Trump has made similar statements in recent months, including back in July, when he said he was considering pulling O'Donnell's citizenship because she's not in the best interest of our great country and is a threat to humanity. So just so we're clear, I think that Donald Trump is just trolling. I think that's what he's doing. I think that he's just trolling. Because, you know, that's what he likes to do. He likes to troll. Donald Trump will go down in the history books as, I believe, a great president and also a great troller. By the way, O'Donnell responded to the president's post back in July with a reference to the character King Joffrey from Game of Thrones, saying, "Go ahead and try killing Joffrey with a tangerine spray tan. I'm not yours to silence. I never was." I'm sure some of you got that reference. They point out the Constitution does not allow a president to strip citizenship of someone born in the country. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to anyone born in the U.S., and O'Donnell was born in New York. O'Donnell, who has Irish grandparents, moved to Ireland with her daughter earlier this year, following Donald Trump's electoral win, and is in the process of obtaining Irish citizenship to become a dual citizen. She cited the current political climate as a reason for her move. This is so dumb. She says, when it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there in America, that's when we will consider coming back, she said in a TikTok video. Can I ask a question, though? Like, who is unsafe in America? I would ask that of Rosie O'Donnell. So who is unsafe in America? Well, criminals. That's number one, because he's going after criminals. And illegal aliens. That's number two. Donald Trump is trying to protect us from the bad guys. Rosie, stay in Ireland.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, here is Dan Mandis.
Phone number is 866-90-RED-EYE, the text line that we are using for this week, 615-737-9986. I got to tell you that I've been struggling, and I'm going to tell you what I've been struggling with. I have been struggling with first world problems, I know, but I've been struggling with who I like better, J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. But you know what's interesting is President Trump is doing everything that he possibly can to usher in J.D. Vance as the next president of the United States. I mean, I'm going to give you an example. Is one of the things that President Trump did was he sent J.D. Vance to Minneapolis, to Minnesota, to talk to the parents who lost their kids in that horrific shooting. And you know what's great about J.D. Vance? What's great about J.D. Vance is he is a man, he is a Christian man, and he has such incredible empathy. And I think this is why he is actually more electable than Marco Rubio, even though for quite some time now I'm saying that my bold prediction is that Marco Rubio, who has a far better resume than J.D. Vance, will not be the president. J.D. Vance is going to be the president. Maybe Marco Rubio can be the vice president. But Donald Trump is putting J.D. Vance in places where he can succeed, where he can make an impact, where he can catch the ear of the American people. And he went to go see the families. And by the way, there is audio out there. I'm sorry that I don't have it. But when he was going to visit the families who had lost their children in this horrific shooting, and when he was going to visit the families whose kids were in the hospital, he got booed on the way in. You got all these, malcontent, purple-haired freaks and with the face rings everywhere and their little signs, and they're yelling at J.D. Vance, calling him a fascist and all of that other stuff as he's walking in to talk to these families. But you know what? J.D. Vance, always taking the high road.
I have never had a day that will stay with me like this day did, because I really felt like these parents, in the midst of the worst grief of their entire lives, they opened up their lives and they opened up their hearts and they made me part of it. So I'd ask a couple of things, straight from the parents and straight from the families to my fellow Americans. First of all, while 2 kids lost their lives, there's still 1 kid that's in very serious condition, and every single family, the family of Lydia, who luckily recovered, but we visited her in the hospital, the family of the 2 who died, Harper and Fletcher, all 3 of those families said, please say a prayer. So to my fellow Americans, if you're the praying type, say a prayer for this innocent girl who's actually in surgery right now, that the swelling will go down, that she will be okay, because she's still in a fight for her life, and every single family to a person is desperate that the death toll, which currently is at 2, stays at 2. And I think if you're a praying type, you ought to say a prayer for this innocent young girl.
Well, I will say that Republicans, by and large, JD are praying types. And I am most certain that, a lot of the American people are the praying types, and they are praying. It's that comment, though, and I did make mention of this earlier, got a lot of reaction out of it. So, of course, I'm going to repeat it. But the Democrats did their whole thing about the lie of thoughts and prayers, right? The lie of thoughts and prayers. You heard Jen Psaki say it. You heard other Democrats say it. And it doesn't make any sense to me, other than they're saying, well, yeah, if you're saying thoughts and prayers, the lie is that you really don't want to do anything about gun violence. That's what they say, gun violence. All you're going to do is you're going to say thoughts and prayers, and you're not going to do anything else. That is the lie, they will say, that is the lie of thoughts and prayers. And, one of the things that I've figured out about Democrats these days, they just can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. when they spoke about, after the Minnesota shooting, when they started talking about the lie of thoughts and prayers, and you saw it all over the left-leaning media, that was horrifically insulting to Christians. And they don't even seem to understand how insulting that was. Because what you're doing is you're denigrating what we as Christians do. But you see, part of the problem the Democrats have is that they are just so triggered by everything that Republicans and Donald Trump do and does. So J.D. Vance, he is talking about, you know, prayers and thoughts and prayers and all that kind of stuff. And this was yesterday. And I'm sure somewhere across America, there are Democrats saying, oh, there he goes again with the lie of thoughts and prayers. It's like, no, prayers actually do work. I mean, I don't want to get on a biblical or a religious soapbox, but I mean, I do believe that the prayers do work. And so I love that J.D. Vance is out there, and I love that J.D. Vance is being given the opportunity to speak his mind, show his compassion, show his empathy, how smart he is. And I think that this is all by design, and I think that it's great.
The second thing that I'd say is, look, I'm speaking to my fellow Americans who are parents in particular. There is nothing that you can say that can take away the grief that these parents are dealing with. There is no word that can possibly describe the feeling or the emotion or the heartbreak. One of the ways that I'm going to try to honor these parents and the children that they lost is by being a better dad and hugging my kids tight tonight and making sure that they know that their dad loves them, because there are two families who are not going to get that opportunity ever again. And if you do have kids, if you're lucky enough to have a son or a daughter, make sure that they know that they love you. Make sure that you hug your kids tight, because there are families in Minneapolis who won't be able to do that ever again.
I love what J.D. Vance has to say. You know, Democrats be darned. And honestly, I don't think anybody really, if you are a fan of J.D. Vance, then I don't think that you really care about what the Democrats say anyway at this point. Oh, this is interesting. So I just clicked onto my my X feed. Follow me at Dan Mandy Show. I watch it throughout not only my morning show on WTN in Nashville, but also when I'm here filling in for the guys. And Let's Go Bucks says this: I want DeSantis Huckabee in 2028. Rubio can remain as Secretary of State. Put JD in transportation? You need someone personable who can go all over the country for the job. No. Let's go, Bucks. I love that you listen. I'm going to go Vance Rubio 2028. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Vance Rubio. I love Mike Huckabee. Don't get me wrong. I'm really big fan of Ron DeSantis. And by the way, that's not a bad, just so you know, Let's Go Bucks. That's not a bad plan B. It's not a bad plan B. But I think in fact, I talked to a lot of conservatives, and they're all looking forward to 2028. They're all looking forward to being able to go to the polls and vote again. That's why I don't think, these Democrats that are all, oh, he's never going to go away. He's going to demand a third term. All that stupidity. It's just that. It is stupidity. By the way, President Trump, have I done this yet? I don't think I've done this yet. Venezuela. Donald Trump, we spoke extensively about Donald Trump bombing the living crap out of that Venezuela drug boat. Remember that yesterday? Killed like 11 bad guys. So President Trump was asked about that today, and remember how laughable it is that you have all of these people in the media saying, oh, this is a major escalation. Not even seemingly concerned that those guys in that boat were coming to America to kill Americans. All Donald Trump did was be proactive. This is what the president said yesterday about the blowing to smithereens that drug boat and killing 11.
On the boat, you had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit. Obviously, they won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, listen, you take care of the bad guys. That's what Donald Trump did in Washington, D.C. That's what Donald Trump is doing across the country with some of these gang-banging illegal aliens. And that's what he wants to do in Chicago and Memphis, maybe New Orleans. We'll have to see where that whole thing goes. But, you know, it is interesting because this story really did bring the issue into focus. Because Donald Trump has been strengthening our military presence near Venezuela, and he should. He knows that Marco Rubio is on the same page. By the way, the Venezuelan president, President Maduro, he wants to keep bringing these drugs in. But make no mistake, this was one little vessel, and they've got a lot more coming in. There's a lot of work to be done. This is from the Associated Press. The U.S. military is strengthening its Navy presence near Venezuela as President Donald Trump seeks to stop the flow of drug trafficking from the Latin American country. You know, I'm surprised. Can I be honest? We're about a year into, not a year. How long is, gosh, has it only been like 7-8 months? He should have been bombing the hell out of the Venezuelan drug boats on day one. I mean, I'm appreciative that he's getting around to it, but still. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro warning on Monday that he would declare a republic in arms if U.S. forces in the Caribbean attacked his country. In the face of this maximum military pressure, and we have declared, he says, maximum preparedness for the defense of Venezuela. Well, you know what I would say to Nicolas Maduro? You are the one that's facilitating all of this, drug transportation. And there's nothing, you know what I see this? I see this as really playing offense or playing really good defense. I'm not sure which one. I think we're playing on offense in protecting our country. That's what we're doing. And I guess the question is, for all those people, and I got into a conversation with a guy about this because he said Donald Trump is trying to start World War III. And I asked the guy, can you explain to me how exactly is it that Donald Trump is trying to start World War III when he is literally defending the homeland from dangerous and deadly drugs from coming into our country, not to mention the bad guys? Not to mention the drug dealers, the ones that are transporting it. So, yeah, I think Donald Trump is doing a great thing. Here, you want to hear another great piece of audio? This is J.D. Vance, and they're asking him, where does President get the legal authority? Yeah, listen to this.
On the Venezuela vessel strike, what legal authority were you guys working under, and will there be an after report on the strike?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be an after report. I mean, the legal authority, and I want to talk about these kids, is that there are people who are bringing literal terrorists who are bringing deadly drugs into our country, and the President of the United States ran on a promise of stopping this poison from coming into our country.
There you go, J.D. Vance. And he's absolutely right. 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number. That's what I mean, though, about J.D. Vance, is that he is just right to the point. He is likable. He is wicked smart. And I think that the future of the Republican Party is in very good hands. The text line, 615-737-9986, will return next on Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
So my buddy Let's Go Bucks, I was reading his tweet or post on the socials, and he said he liked Rubio Huckabee for 2028. I assumed that he was talking about Mike Huckabee, and I feel like, millions of people have said, who's going to tell Mandis that he's talking about Sarah Huckabee Sanders? I don't know. I'm not sure which one. I've asked him to clarify. By the way, I would be totally fine with either one.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.